Oh, we were a Paris. An accurate description of the city and country depending on who you ask, both in the past sense and in the modern. Also, depending on who you ask, it could be seen as the city of love and fortune, Americans, and or to the rest of us Eurotrash, we see them as our equal Eurotrash, if not more smelly and disgusting. To best sum up my feelings of the French, or rather my attitude towards them, I try my best to limit as many interactions with them as humanly possible. In fact, the most distinct memory I have of a Frenchman was once traveling to Germany via coach and having to tell the coach driver to please wind up the window as we were going through Paris because all you could smell was piss. Although to be fair, I'm not exactly an unbiased source because ethnically I'm as British as it comes, and I mean 110% British. And if there's two things the English are well known for, is one, having bad food, and two, having bad relationship with people who can actually make food, i.e. the French. Historically, it feels like a blood feud I can feel through my veins, and no matter how enlightened I pretend to be, it's like Admiral Nelson is whispering in my ears personally as if he was Jesus, telling me to batter the nearest smelly Napoleon I spot. What I'm trying to say is I'm not exactly a non-biased source, and I take great pleasure in every chance I get to shit all over the French. And today happens to be one of those very special occasions where I could unzip my pants and drop trowel.
Tonight, a bedbug infestation sweeping through Paris and anxiety quickly rising. Viral videos like these causing sleepless nights.
Sorry to be the one who has to break the horrific news to you, but that old adage that your mother used to say to you right before bed in hopes that you would fall asleep before the noises began isn't just something that people say. Bedbugs are in fact real, and they do in fact actually bite. Scientifically known as Chymus hepatitis, which sounds like a spell that Harry Potter would cast to get rid of chlamydia, they are not only a very real creature, they also happen to be a very infectious creature. Essentially, getting some of these critters in your home is a lot like getting lice in your balls. Sure, you can shave it and bite at it, but it's still not gonna make any damn difference. They love furniture, and they also love your very human, very sticky, and very red blood. Happy to have a chomp on you any chance they can possibly get. Now, the French, quite deservedly, in my opinion, have had an outbreak of these little guys all over the streets of Paris, which unfortunately lined up with the exact time that Paris Fashion Week took place. Ladies, I'm pretty sure you're quite familiar with what it is, but for my fellas, it's that event that pops up on the Kardashians at least once a year that you're bi-curiously watching from across the room, even though you keep reminding your partner that you hate this show and oh, they're so stuck up. Side note, this only applies to hetero relationships. If you're in a femme butch lesbian relationship and you happen to be the butch in this relationship, you can just wait until that episode of Ice Road Truckers is finished on the Discovery Channel and you can ask your femme girlfriend to explain it to you. As for the flip side of my homosexuals, I like to call them, let's not kid ourselves, even the most straight passing gay man knows exactly what Paris Fashion Week is. As I'm sure you're aware, since you probably lived through COVID yourself unless you're literally 3 or 4 years old, when a major cultural event featuring hundreds of thousands of people all collectively merge in one city or town, and that same city or town happens to have some kind of infectious parasite, things tend to get a little bit out of hand. And the bedbug infection suddenly went from a few isolated incidences around Old Paris into a literal national emergency declared by their very own Prime Minister. So there's a couple hard facts that we're aware of so far. One, the French are subhuman beings and should be shuffled into mountains and holes like the mole people they are. Two, the French have a bedbug infection. Three, this bedbug infection has now spread to foreign visitors who are going to go return to their own countries and probably take the disease with them. But there's one fact that we are seemingly missing out on. Where the f*** did this outbreak even come from? Pathogens, plagues, and insects don't just show up. They've got to have a source origin. And if the internet is to be believed, it's a particularly vindictive source in this case. Not long after the Rugby World Cup had concluded and the infection had hit critical mass, as a result of South Africa yet again winning it and stomping the shit out of the Parisian ground, Go Booker! An internet post was rediscovered on a Parisian website, i.e. a message board specifically, in which one user whose name, and I'm sorry I'm gonna have to dirty my mouth with that foul language, known only as La Puissance is Fury, or the Crazy Bug, went into heavy details about two things. One, his burning hatred of France and the French people, and two, his desire to spread an infection amongst them, specifically in Paris. This plan, as he laid it out, concluded with him breeding his own bedbugs and then shipping them off to different neighborhoods all around Paris. Essentially, he would line envelopes with the little critters and then allow them to be opened by various individuals in the hopes that the bedbugs would attach to them. Those individuals would then go home and to their apartment blocks, inadvertently being a carrier of the disease. In hilarious fashion, he kind of big-brained it as well, or allegedly he did, because on top of literally being a biohazard terrorist, he heavily invested in exterminator companies all around Paris, in the hopes that the infection, once it hits full blown, would allow him in supervillain style to line his own pockets. Now, I can't say any of this is true, because it could have just been a joke on a random website in 2021 by a hyper-clairvoyant individual. But in the off chance that this is true, this is probably the dumbest, smartest man I have ever heard of. Yes, he will definitely get rich in the short term, but in the long term, if he ever gets linked to this crime, which it literally is, he is probably going to go to jail for life. And why do I say that? Well, because in spite of him doing God's work and punishing the French as they deserve, because of the timing of his scheme and plan, he infected some of the most insufferable people in the entire world via Fashion Week. He infected some of the most legendary blokes in the entire world in the form of the World Cup, and now Paris is set to host the Olympic Games in 2024. In an ideal world, the bedbugs would only target the French, but sadly, they're an indiscriminate creature, meaning the various tourists who are going to be arriving in Paris, and already have, are going to super carry this all around the globe, to which we're already seeing the beginning signs of.
Because what you're about to see is what one pest control company has called the worst case of bedbugs they've ever seen.
Yeah, pest control firms in London say they've been inundated with calls about out-of-control pests.
Unfortunately for all of us living in the greater globe, there's not really much you can do about bedbugs. They exist similarly to fleas. If they get into your furniture, it's pretty much toast, and you have to adopt a scorched earth policy. Alternatively, I know what I will be doing with my bedbugs when they eventually arrive. I'll be doing the exact same thing our Parisian friend intended to do, except I'm going to genetically modify them so they're only attracted to the smell of cigarettes and unshaved. But speaking of attraction, I know you're attracted to that subscribe button, baby. It's okay. I won't tell anyone if you click it. Give it a little stroke. It can be our little secret. I could rattle on for a few more minutes, but truthfully, I've had enough of making this video, as it's been over the course of like 3 or 4 days, because I couldn't get this bastard green screen to work properly. And also, if I have to mention the word France one more time, I'm gonna be sick. Thanks so much for watching, baby girl. Bye-bye.